Greg, what are taxpayers getting for their money? Seriously, we showed this last night. There's this growing backlash against Democrat state lawmakers in New York apologizing for posing with a sign that had a plane with the words climate change on it aimed at the World Trade Center, exploiting the 9/11 terror attacks. So we go from it's a pandemic, inflation is transitory, so now it's Putin's price hike.
Yeah, it's excuse after excuse after excuse to take the blame where it should be, and that's at the White House on the decisions that this White House has made. And you ask the question of what are Americans getting? They're getting less and less every day as inflation rises, as gas prices rise. And because of gas prices rising, it affects every commodity that's shipped in a semi-truck or is transported around this country, which is most of the products that you get at the grocery store. So just by becoming energy independent and go back to the Trump era policies that encouraged our oil producers to produce right here in the United States, where we were energy independent, would have a huge effect, not just on gas prices, but on overall prices at the grocery store, at Walmart, and any other place that you shop.
Loan costs are growing up for U.S. energy companies. They're up double digits as the Democrats move to defund and debank U.S. energy and put more in tax and regulation hurdles on them. The press secretary, the president, blaming oil companies, saying they should drill on their 9,000 oil leases. Pipeliners say they would if they could. Watch Senator Ted Cruz say the White House doesn't know how to do energy production or how it works. Watch this.
Now, I understand that the White House's talking points are written by an 18-year-old intern who's taking freshman socialism. But it would be good to have someone who's actually worked in the private sector and has some awareness of how energy is produced.
What do you say, Congressman?
Well, and all you have to do is talk to the actual companies and those people right here in America that produce oil and that produce the energy that we consume. And they will tell you that it's because of the policies that have been put in place by this White House on day one. After he was inaugurated and after he was sworn in, one of the first things he did was shut down the Keystone Pipeline, shut down federal drilling on federal lands, shut down and put all of these huge bureaucratic burdensome regulations on the energy sector because they are owned by the leftist, progressive, Green New Deal Democrats who don't want any of that and want all of us to be driving electric vehicles and have solar panels on our homes.
Yeah, they've been choking off loans, right, to the energy sector. They've have antagonists against U.S. energy at the FTC, the EPA, the Department of Interior. They have the SEC going after companies to reveal their climate emissions and more disclosures. Congressman, to your point, for a century now, OPEC nations, the Mideast, Norway, the U.S., the world knows that to keep prices low, you have to drill and find more oil. But somehow the White House now thinks that doesn't matter. Watch the White House advisors now claim finding more oil will not affect prices. Watch the energy secretary say, yeah, go find more oil. Watch President Biden praise electric vehicles, not talking about how 2/3 of U.S. electricity comes from fossil fuels. Congressman, it's going to feel like you have fallen through the looking glass and that you're on the other side of the mirror with Alice in Wonderland. Watch this.
I think it presents an enormous opportunity to improve the health of the public overall, number one, because we're moving in the direction that we don't need to propel most of what we have in the future with regard to oil products.
We are on war footing. We are in an emergency. And that means releases from the strategic reserves across the world, like we've done. And that means you producing more right now, where and if you can. And I hope your investors are saying these words to you as well in this moment of crisis.
There is no amount of domestic production that we can do when we're dealing with a volatile global commodity.
Even if we drilled as much as we could, the price of oil is still set globally by the demand and supply conditions.
Excuse me, supply sets the pricing too, okay? Supply sets it. So your reaction to this chaotic off-the-wall messaging?
It just shows how completely out of touch this administration is with everyday Americans, and they think that everyday Americans aren't smart enough to know that they're lying to them because we had energy independence just a few years ago under the Trump administration, and the gas prices were half what they are right now. The inflation was nowhere near what we're experiencing, and the prices that they paid at the grocery store were not 10% more than they were, all because of the decisions that this administration has made.
And now we've got 200 climate groups demand the White House use the Defense Production Act for green energy when, Trump had used this act for the pandemic. Your final word.
You can't, if every person in America bought an electric vehicle, there's not enough electric vehicles around to do that, and that still wouldn't change the production of energy at our homes. That's mostly fossil fuels. Right here in Florida, it's 85% natural gas.
Congressman Greg Steube, it's great to have you on. Come back soon. The State Department, the Pentagon, rejecting as, quote, laughable, they say it's a conspiracy theory, that the U.S. has biolabs in Ukraine.